Okay, now you've attached the elastic at the top and the bottom of the bralette, and now it's time to sew the channeling at the center front cutout. And in that same operation, we are going to sew the strap elastic that spans the center front cutout. Now, I say a lot that perfection's overrated, but in this step, you want to be as close to perfect as possible, because if you are off slightly in attaching the strap elastic between the center front cutout, your bra can be lopsided. The Raquel bralette was designed so that the width of the strap elastic between the center front cutout is 3/4 of an inch. Now, some women are wider, some women are narrower. Even in a classic bra, the bridge width is very specific. So if you are usually wider or you know that you're narrower, I suggest that you base this in and test the width and then sew it in permanently. Make adjustments and then sew it in permanently. But if you just want to go for it, then 3/4 of an inch is the magic number. I have cut out a strip of channeling that is slightly longer than the center front cutout. I've also cut out 2 small strips of strap elastic that are 1.5 inches long. Now, the width of the center front cutout, the finished width of the center front cutout, is 3/4 of an inch. The seam allowance on either side are 1/4 of an inch, so 3/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 is 1 1/4. And to account for that turn of the cloth, I added about 1/8 of an inch on either side. So let's do our math here. 3/4 of an inch is the finished width, plus 1/4 to account for seam allowances is 1 1/4, and then 1/8 and 1/8 to account for the turn of the cloth. So that's 1.5 inches wide or long. Now, to sew it, I am going to place 1 strap elastic at the top so that it aligns with the picot elastic, and then another strap elastic at the bottom, again aligning with the picot elastic or the lace. Then I'm going to place the channeling over, and I'm going to sew with a straight stitch as close to the inner edge as possible. You want to get super close. Again, perfection's overrated, but you want to be as close to perfect as possible in this step, because in the next step you're going to fold this back and you're going to sew another straight stitch on this side. And you need to give enough space inside the channeling so that the plastic boning can be inserted. If you're too close together, you can't insert the plastic channeling. Also, during this step, you might want to, or you do want to, switch to a universal needle, size 14 or 16, since these fabrics don't, or since these trims don't stretch, and they are pretty thick. Once you sew the first line of straight stitches on the inner edge of the channeling, you will turn the channeling to the wrong side and sew another line of straight stitches on the other edge, making sure that the strap elastic is facing out and that you're not stitching through it. It is now time to insert the plastic boning inside the channeling at the center front. I have cut 2 strips of plastic boning that are 4 inches long. So the length of the center front cutout on the sample, which is a size medium, is 4.5. So I cut them 1/2 inch less to allow for playroom inside the channeling, to give it a little bit of give inside. You don't want it to be super tight, and also to give room to sew a straight stitch at the top and the bottom to close it off. So to insert it, you don't insert it between the channeling and the fabric, you actually insert it inside the channeling. I made that mistake for a long time when I first started sewing lingerie. So the channeling has a channel on the inside, and you also want it, if yours curves a little bit, you want to insert it with the curve facing out. And then once you get it in there, you can press it down and wiggle it into place. You can also stick a pair of scissors, one blade, and push it down. Once it's in place, you will add a straight stitch on the top and the bottom edge as close to it as possible, and this will close off the channeling so that the plastic boning can't get in or out. And once you sew the straight stitch or the bar tack, you can trim the channeling as close to the stitching as possible. So once you sew the straight stitch, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you will then use your scissors and trim as closely to that stitch line as possible.